episode here on Saxlingham Farm. How are you all doing? Hopefully you're all doing very well. As you can see, we have got the class out again, but this time we've borrowed a new drill from Horsh, or from Class Eastern, which is just over there, and they're also part of. They also have the Horsh franchise, and as I say, we've borrowed another drill. They've currently got this drill in stock on sale, so we thought we would give it a go and would give it a try. It's a 12 meter one. As you know, our one that we're currently using at the moment is 6 meters, but this is a 12 meter version, and obviously, you know, twice the width, if you like. And it does mean that for every one breed we do with obviously our old one, we do 2 breeds with this one, so it does sort of speed up a little bit. Again, with the tractor, my first initial thoughts are, is it maybe a tad too big for what we're doing, you know, at the moment with the amount of land that we've got? But the same thought as really with the tractor. Whilst I think that does stand up, whilst that is a relevant point for the business to look at, we are going to be at some point taking on more land. You know, I'm hoping that's going to be quite soon, and in of course taking on more land, we are going to need bigger equipment. We are going to need slightly more horsepower, you know, upon the farm. I mean, as it stands, our class crawlers that we've got at the moment, as you know, we've got 2 of them. They would be able to pull this drill also. So this drill doesn't rely on us buying that tractor that is also currently at the moment on hire. We have got the tractor until drilling is complete, but the drill is only for this field, and then we've got another drill coming in that we intend to drill our wheat with, and that drill is a little bit more of a wet weather drill. So should you know, should the weather become inclement and you know, mean that we can't run you know, sort of disc drills, and also drills with a high number of packer wheels as well, that again they sort of become a little bit less appropriate. So we are looking at a 6 meter mounted version seed drill with a front hopper and the rear you know, drill and power harrow at the back, which gives us also as well the option, if the ground that we haven't ploughed ahead of drilling becomes very wet, what we can do is we can plough and drill it, so we can get the land ploughed ahead of the drill. The drill will then break it down and then drill the crop straight in behind, thus taking out any sort of third pass scenario where we, you know, with a disc drill, you would probably want something behind the plough ahead of the drill just to help with the levelling down, but the power drill cuts out that step. You know, that tractor or that machine in essence is doing 2 passes in the 1 pass, so it cuts out the driver. But it does also mean as well that you know, we can still be drilling while it is wet, you know, which obviously in Great Britain is pretty important. And when I worked on the farm, that was how certainly in wet years, you know, I would sort of always find from August when I was drilling the rate to mid to late September, we would get away with the Verdestat, and then after the excuse me, after sort of, you know, mid-September, second week in September really, we would pretty much always be moving over onto you know, the combination drill, which was a 6 meter Amazon combination drill, and it was a good drill, and as I say, if it was raining and wet and we, you know, needed to be getting on and we had a lot to get on with, then that drill allowed us to get on with it. So you know, they do play a very important role on sort of bigger farms. It's not so desperate on the smaller farms. You know, usually, certainly in September, you can sort of kind of bank on it will probably dry out enough for us to get back drilling. But on both farms that I worked on, we had a wet weather drill, and as I say, that was you know, sort of important to keep us going. So that's the plan, as I say. But the other drill that we've got coming in is a 9-meter version of the drill that we've currently got, and then whether we then use an avatar or not, I don't know. The plan is as well with Class Eastern that when the harvest peas become ready to harvest, we will be using, we will have on hire a combine, and we will be trying out the combine. As I say, I know we need to upgrade, and I know that the farm needs to update some of the equipment. It's just making sure that we update in the right area. You know, it's so when working on the second farm, and you would be a lot more involved in the buying process of equipment, and if the equipment was specifically for you to use, then you would be heavily involved in the buying process. And you know, I used to sometimes sort of make the comparison with football a little bit. You know, they would sort of go, oh well, we'll get this. Yes, it's the most expensive machine, but it's bigger, and it's this and it's that and everything else. And I sometimes used to say, yes, it is bigger. Yes, in theory, all of that in theory is true, does work, and is definitely the way that perhaps we need to be going. But for that amount of money, we could buy this, and this machine, which means that we would have a greater range, we would have greater flexibility, we would have, you know, bigger isn't always necessarily better. When you've got everything, which they pretty much had, I mean, it wasn't very often that, you know, that the farm was lacking something. You know, the second farm I'm talking about, the first farm, that sort of tried to mend and make do, which is fair enough. It's only 1,000 acres, but or just a little bit over, but certainly not much more than 1,000 acres, and so therefore I kind of got it. But with the second farm, obviously, you know, in excess of sort of 5,000 acres owned, 3,000 acres of contract farmed and rented inland, you know, and now the farm's even bigger than that. Yeah, so there wasn't much the farm didn't have, but just sometimes I used to sort of think we were better off spreading the money across multiple machines rather than just buying one massive machine, because in my view, that one massive machine, as long as in theory it stayed dry, you were going to get done in double quick time. But if it came wet and you've got nothing in backup, well, what's the point of the big machine? Because now you've just got a big lump of metal sitting in a shed that you can't use. So my kind of philosophy was, yes, we go for a slightly smaller machine, which means, yes, it's going to take us slightly longer to do. However, because we've now got all of this extra money left over, in terms of drills, you could then go for a wet weather drill that, you know, would match that, or you could go for pulling down equipment that would be able to run in front of the drill, or, you know, whatever. Like, but that was sort of the point that I always used to try and sort of make and get across. And sometimes they sort of agreed and said, yeah, actually we're better off buying 3 things rather than one very expensive thing that under, you know, sort of certain circumstances we could never use. So we're better off buying, this machine and then, this machine, because if it's wet or whatever, we can, sort of switch over to machine 2. So using this drill, if this was real life now, I would now say to the farm manager, I would say to the boss man, I would say, I like the drill, it's good width, I mean, on the game, it plants evenly every time because it's just the way the game is. So I couldn't really comment on that, but I would say I like the drill. The one downside to it is leaving wheelings everywhere, and that would be my one sort of downside to the drill. We are leaving sort of wheelings. Yes, that is partly because I drilled the headland first. I understand that, but again, it's dry, it's quite warm. We haven't had no rain on the game for a little while, so in real life, I would drill the headlands first because you're going to be constantly turning on the headlands. So if you can get the tilth ahead of when I come into the field, usually it's been disked or subsoiled or something like that, so it would have been worked. So I would drill into the headlands first, because obviously when I do the middle of the field, I'm going to be turning on the headlands, trampling them down, compacting them even more. My drill isn't going to go into the ground, and then I'm going to have a great deal of difficulty trying to get that seed into the ground. So if I drill it while it's freshly cultivated and drill it first, the seed is in the ground, my tractor's compacting it, but all it's doing is compacting the seed into the ground. So now you've got good seed to soil contact, which means you should get, in theory, good growth as long as the moisture's there. So that, again, that would be why, if it was hot, I would do the headlands first. Alternatively, if it was wet, I would drill the headlands last, because you're going to compact them and what have you. You're going to turn, you're going to scuff, you're going to do all of that. And then what I would do is when I was getting near to the headland, I would then sort of ring the boss man, farm manager, or one of the lads who was ever on the cultivator, or Kerry, if it was Kerry, to be fair, and just say to them, can you come back and do my headlands again for me, please, and lift them back out for me so that I can drill them. But if I drilled the headlands, if it was raining and I drilled the headlands first, and then with me turning on, what you're basically doing is you're compacting the seed into the ground, but you're also going to get puddles. And obviously you don't want puddles, so therefore I drill them last, so that the drill would be going. Usually, if it's a wet weather drill, it's going to have a power hour on the front 9 times out of 10, and that power hour would stop the probability of puddling. In the headlands. In the corners, you're probably going to get it because you can't really be off it. But if you lose a metre square in the corner as opposed to most of the headland, because puddles have settled in your tracks and your wheelings and everything else, then you'd rather go for the metre squared in the corners, rather than that. So anyway, I'm going to crack on with this field. As I say, once we get this field done, the seed will be emptied out of this drill at the yard, and then we'll go and get the other drill, and then we'll put that one on, and then we'll drill the first field of wheat with that drill, and then if I quite like that drill and it's doing a decent job, I might keep that drill, and I might not bother with the avatar, but they have said that we can use the avatar. As I say, we've got a combine coming in when we do the harvest peas. I'm leaning more towards a new combine than I am new equipment. Our 6 metre drill can manage at the moment quite comfortably. Our Challengers are managing quite comfortably at the moment. This tractor, nice option to have, especially because we've got one Challenger at the minute out ploughing, the other one out cultivating ahead of the drill. So to have this tractor as well is a nice little option to have, because it means that I don't have to wait for a Challenger to come available to pull the drill. So it's a high probability, but I don't like the wheelings. Ignore the wheelings on the headland, like I say, that's because I drilled them first. But the 2 wheelings in the actual middle of the field that's following the drill, I'm not really keen on having that across the field, because that's every breed, and you don't really want that. But like I say, I'm going to crack on with this now, and then we'll get into some time lapse. We'll get all, hopefully in this episode, we should get all the drilling finished, and because the cultivator now has got quite a way ahead, so it's going to mean that I can sort of, get in top gear and really crack on with it. It's not going to take long, so I'll see you at the end. Thanks very much. Right, so we're back, and we very nearly got this field finished now, which is very good. Yeah, so we've, as I say, we've nearly got this field done now. That's all the wheat and the rape drilled now for this year. No, it isn't actually. Yeah, it's a lie. It's a lie. We've got, I don't know what that was. we. Oh dear. We've got one more to do, which is the current soybean field, which is just down there, down the little lane there. And what we'll do is we'll go and have a little look at that, because I don't know whether that's ready or not. I don't think it is, to be fair, because I'm pretty certain I would have combined it by now. But as I say, we'll go and have a quick look. But yeah, it's, excuse me, it's gone very well. And I did in the end borrow the Avatar drill because I really didn't like the Pronto. I wasn't keen on the first one that we tried, which was the, is it called a Sprinter? I can never, oh hang on, oh yeah, there it is. Oh, it's the Evo. I didn't think they were called Evos. I thought they were called Sprinters. Oh, I don't know. Anyway, what's in here? Just as, oh look, there's a nice big combine for us. It's just a shame it's not green and white. But yeah, we, as I say, we they'll be ready next month. We haven't got very good yield potential. I'm not sure why. Don't know why that would be. Did all of the steps. Never mind. It matters not, my friend. Alright, so in here we obviously need to get some lime down, we need to get some fertiliser down, we need to get some lime fertiliser, we need to get it rolled, so we'll crack on with that in the next episode, or when we come back next time. Actually, we probably will have all these fields rolled as well. I'll do them off camera because I always kind of consider rolling one of those jobs. I really enjoy doing it, but it isn't necessarily the greatest job in the world watching me do it. Do you know what I mean? You know, but I actually do really. I used to. There was a few jobs on the real farm that I used to really look forward to and volunteer for as well. Like if sort of, you know, you'd get there and, you know, perhaps there wasn't a lot of ploughing or whatever, and there'd be like, you know, as I've said, ploughing was my job. That was what I was sort of paid to do. But that then also made me a floater, which meant that when there wasn't no ploughing, I could go pretty much anywhere across the business and do whatever. Apart from dairy, I didn't really ever get involved in dairy much. And after the incident with the slurry tanker and being covered in I didn't go down there after that at all. But yeah, up until then, I sort of, you know, I went down there occasionally, but not very often. And if if so, you know, if you get to work and, you know, sort of the other guys that might have specific jobs, you know, there might not be sort of those jobs available at that time, you know, whether it's because we'd only just started harvesting or, you know, whatever. Sorry, slurping me tea. If it was, you know, sort of whatever, or we'd sort of just got into drilling and, you know, there wasn't much ploughing because most of the ploughing was after veg, not after cereals. I mean, sometimes we would plough after cereals, but mainly it was veg. So once the veg came off, you know, like sugar beet potatoes, the carrots, the onions, and stuff like that, then we would plough, and that would like kind of reset the field and restart us. But if they were sort of drilling, and while that was going on, and there wasn't, or there was some verge mowing or hedge cutting, or, you know, sort of stuff like that, I used to I used to always volunteer for like rolling for verge mowing. I absolutely, those two jobs, honestly, they were just, because I'm naturally quite laid back and probably a little bit lazy. Those jobs were ideal. They were slow jobs that took all day. And you could make them last even longer if you really wanted to. Great jobs. Love those jobs on the farm. It's like, yeah, I'll go verge mowing, and it's like, okay, where you going? Oh, I'll head out Kings Lynn way, knowing full well that the further away from the farm you got, the less likely any of the sort of bosses or farm managers or whatever were going to come and sort of see how you're getting on. You might get a phone call. They might just ring up and say, hi James, is everything all right, and are you all right? Because I used to get that a lot, because obviously with my heart condition, I mean, when they took me on, they said, like, it shouldn't deter you, from doing, trying things to see whether you're capable, and at the same time it mustn't deter us from sort of not employing you, because yes, sort of the farm manager had been, offered me the job, whatever, but I still had to go through an interview. I still had to go and meet the rest of the bosses, and I did say to the farm manager thereafter, and I said, like, was it ever in sort of doubt that I would go, that I would come here? And he said, well, not for me it wasn't. He said, and even if they had have said no, he said, which they didn't, they all said yes. He said, but even if they'd have said no, I'd have still taken you on, because he said at the end of the day, you have to, they like it that you go in front of them, because blah blah blah. He said, like, it's a load of old crap. He said, but I still have the final say. He said, because I run the farm. He said, so I would have still taken you on. So he said, it was never a case of you weren't possibly not coming here. He said, you was always coming here. He said, it's just that we had to follow a process. Wouldn't it be nice if the game could shine up the augers? This is 2 seasons now this combine's done. I was thinking this the other day, wouldn't it be really nice if if Farming Simulator actually really took note of what happened to farm machinery? Because the one thing that annoys me is that auger would shine up, right? But Giants is like paint wearing effect and chip effect and everything else means that you quickly get bloody great big chunks and chips and stuff knocked out of your paintwork, and you think, crikey, it's only a bloody day old. Do you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, it'd be quite nice if that did actually shine up. But yeah, well, there you go. Here's what it is. Anyway, I'm going to leave this episode here because I'm starting to sort of just talk nonsense, and no one's got time for that. So yeah, can I just say, if I do end up buying this tractor, I will definitely be buying this drill. This has been, at the 3 drills that I've tried, this is definitely the drill. It just fits nicely to what we're looking for on the farm. I've sold the potatoes, which you may have eagle-eyed seen when I came to refuel. But I sold the potatoes, good price, so I just got rid of them. I did that off camera. And say, but all this now tomorrow needs rolling. But as I say, I'll probably crack on with that, sort of off camera. And then because we have now got a few pennies, I'm not one of these people that, I've got this X amount of money, I now need to spend all of it immediately. I'm not like that. I'll be hard pushed to spend it, but I am going to buy these 2 fields, and then we might then, I mean, as you know, for those that watch and take note, we can't buy land that's attached to a farm unless we buy the lot. So I can't buy the farm without buying the land, and I can't buy the land without buying the farm, because in theory all that would go together. And I am half tempted to save as much money as possible, and next year we'd be able to afford that, and that's the dairy. That is the dairy farm. So if we go and have a little visit, there we go. So as I say, this is the dairy farm, and it's very, very tempting. There is already cows here. There is already cows here. But yeah, it is tempting to take on. Oh yeah, we can't open the doors because we don't own it. But yeah, it's tempting to take on the farm and the land, because they are quite big fields here. But we're going to need sort of in excess of 4 or 5 million, and that's quite a lot of money. So yeah, but anyway, as I say, I am going to leave it here because I've gone on a little bit too long. So thanks ever so much for watching. If you've enjoyed the episode, give it a thumbs up, and if you like what you see and you like listening to me go on for far too long, why not consider subscribing? As I say, we are I try to play as realistically as possible. As I always say, it is a game, so there are parameters where game takes priority over real life, just because of the way sometimes things are set up. But I do try to do things realistically, and I have had in the last sort of probably about 48 hours 3 separate people that have all come to me and said, would you mind doing some American maps? So maybe look out for that in the future, because I've a couple of as I say, people from the States that watch, 3 people in fact, and as far as I know, none of them, they haven't been talking. It was just a coincidence that they've all sort of come in at the same time and gone, would you mind doing some American maps? We love your British playthroughs, but it'd be quite nice to see, sort of the States and where I'm from and blah, blah, blah. And the same map got recommended twice, and the third person gave a different map. So we might look at them. I'm hoping as well, fingers crossed, that my new PC is getting very much nearer. So again, quickly, for those that know, I've been chatting with a company that makes PCs, and I've been saying, if you could heavily reduce the PC or sponsor me with the PC, you can have as much coverage on my channel as you want. A nice product placement in the middle of the episode, I don't mind. And whilst they're not going to sponsor a PC, unfortunately, from the sort of chat that I had with one of the guys the other day, they were very keen to help, and as I say, MSI are looking likely at the moment. So if Chill Blast is listening to this video or watching this video, then get in touch, because I vowed I wouldn't go away from Chill Blast, but MSI sent me a reconditioned MSI laptop, and I've been trying that out, and it's fantastic. And they said, you imagine putting, having that laptop 10 times in a PC, and I was like, yeah, that would be pretty cool, because the laptop is much higher spec than my current PC, and I've been playing Farm Sim on there, and I've been playing it on Ultra. To be fair to my computer, I can play Farm Sim on Ultra on that, but there are little times when it does shudder and shake, and the FPS does drop sometimes. So I tend to have it on medium, just so as I keep my FPS all the time. But yeah, so if you're listening, Chill Blast, you need to get in quick, because I'm being tempted by somebody else. Anyway, I'm off. Thanks ever so much for watching. I can't wait to see you again next time, and bye for now.